Oh, well, I can.
Yeah. Six. Yep. You ready? Yep. You good? Okay. It's 6 o'clock. Call this meeting to order and motion to approve the agenda. Before we do that,
I need to make a change to that.
Okay.
The discussion about hiring Rose Welch at Marks needs to be a complaint made by a county employee against Jacob Holmes and Todd Mayer. I'm not included as that, so it is not the Board of Supervisors.
well, it was us as the board.
No, it's you two, singly. It is not the Board of Supervisors.
I think we'll go on with the way it is, in my opinion. We can go look at it afterwards. I guess it needs to be changed, but
I'm asking that it be amended.
well, we are supervisors. We were brought a complaint as supervisors, not.
You are the two singly who are named. I am not named, so it is not the whole board.
I don't know. What do you think, Bob?
I would agree with that, probably.
Just
I mean, I would just say that she's not part of that.
What do we put that on here? Let's say.
It's against Holmes and Mayor.
County board,
Thank you, Todd.
home, so how do you want to word that?
It's against Holmes and Mayor, the
Yeah,
same thing.
I would just put our two names in
Against,
there,
against,
because I think the original one was stated that way, but
okay, against supervisor, home supervisor, mayor, that's fine.
yeah.
Okay. The other thing here on the one right above that, I did not see that come to the agenda email. And also, in reading that, it's pretty big, LEC. I had to think about that, what in the world we were talking about, what LEC even stood for.
It's a joint authority board, which was mentioned last week by Greg Wild when we were discussing the jail.
I understand that, but in IPIB, looking at our agendas and things, and I brought this up in January. The agenda should be simple enough for anyone to pick up and see what's going on, see if they want to come. I even looked up the Iowa code that's on here, 346.27. It does not mention police or any kind of law enforcement. on
It was mentioned last week as a joint authority board as a possibility
I
in
understand that.
discussing with Clarinda.
I
That's a
understand that.
continuation of last week's discussion as
But
far as what we're doing with the jail.
I understand that. I'm just trying to make sure we're more than clear for the public. If they would like to come in and make sure that we're have a clear agenda item. So I don't feel comfortable with it. If you guys do, you go ahead.
Are we not, I mean, I'm assuming we're just going to discuss further what
Yes.
we discussed last week.
Yes,
So as long as it's not
No action.
no action, I mean, it says discuss an action, but I don't think that we'll have to make a
If
decision
there's no
tonight.
action, I don't care.
Okay, yeah,
Let's make sure that, and maybe a suggestion would be
and
define the abbreviation LEC law.
last week you objected because there was an action on about something. Now there's discussion action and you're objecting to the joint authority board to build and operate. a new law enforcement center, LEC.
Yeah, if it had said law enforcement center, I'd been fine with it. It's not very clear. And I want people to know what it says, so. It's supposed to be easy enough, anybody can pick it up. I had to think about it for a minute to realize what it was, and I was here last week, so I'm just putting that out there because this is something. Our Public Information Board wants our agendas to be clear and easy to
Yeah,
understand.
I mean, I think it's fine to leave it on there and discuss. I think we should just probably discuss it because it is gonna be
I'm fine with
something,
it.
something that we might have to vote on later.
Yeah.
At some point, I don't think we need to vote on it tonight, but there
Time
may
is
be,
of the essence.
right, but. And that's fine if we want to vote on it, but I,
I just want the public to know.
right, yeah,
That's
Yep.
my only, I don't only care, I don't.
I agree. It probably should have been spelled out a little bit clearer, but. I think if we discuss tonight and then if we want to put it on next week's or something else for more action, actual action, then.
Okay, I'm fine with that. So you want to amend that to just say discuss, or what do you want to do?
Let's just amend it to have discussion.
Okay, so
If that makes everybody happy.
okay, I'm fine with that. Just want to be very careful. We're doing things right. The public knows what's going on, so. Yeah,
So we just put discuss and not action, but
yeah, so make a,
yeah, so I'll make a motion that we amend that to just say discuss. I'm moving forward with the joint authority board item on the agenda.
improve the agenda with that change.
Yeah.
And the correction of our names on there.
Yes, and the correction with our names on the. Yeah, can you do a joint one or do you want a separate motion?
I think they need to be separate.
Separate? Okay, so first motion then is a motion to change from the supervisors to Supervisor Mayor and Supervisor Holmes under the discussion action of the gross Welch marks attorneys in the complaint.
We'll vote on that.
So do it.
Yeah, then we'll vote on that, I guess.
Yeah, we'll have to have a second.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay.
Just want roll calls.
Yes.
Yes, I'm sorry. No, I was following.
Okay,
And then my second motion then would be to take out the word action and just have discussion on moving forward with the joint authority board. LEC.
need a second for that? I'll second that. Yeah,
Yes.
No,
yes. Okay, got that done. So there's our amended agenda. Now, we've done that. Let's all say pledge of allegiance. Stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Next up, public comment.
Good evening. My name is Heidi Carter. I have two comments tonight. One is regarding discuss action, the engagement of Gross Welch Marks Clare for the purpose of defense and advising the county board related to issues stemming from a complaint made by a county employee. I was wondering when the board will be entertaining a motion to hire a firm to conduct the initial investigation, which has to be done. The other one, I was wondering, do any of you subscribe to the Iowa Capital Dispatch? It's an email newsletter. It's very good. It's about state government, what's coming up, what has happened. That it's the last item, discuss action, review the draft ordinance for the CO2 pipeline and get update from Ehlers and Cooney per Supervisor Maher. To bring this to your attention, Todd, in the Iowa Capital Dispatch today, federal judge says counties can't restrict carbon dioxide pipeline locations. And I just wanted to give you this
Yeah.
article.
Yep, I saw that. I got an email on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anybody else?
I'm Shirley Long, and I just want to have some input to the bridges on J64. They're in terrible shape. The one on West Tark has the southwest corner beam, the approach has been bent for 2 years and never been fixed. The Middle Tark Bridge, just across from Hackberry, the posts are rotting off and there are holes like this on 2 of the corners, southwest and the northwest. And the posts have rotted this much off. And the bridge near by the Northborough corner, that bridge was fixed. The bridge approaches were fixed on both ends, but the re-rods are coming completely up out of the asphalt, and they are a danger to anybody that's driving on them with a truck or a trailer. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for bringing that up. Yeah. Anybody else?
My name is Grant Terry. I'm a project manager with Summit Carbon Solutions, just here to make a couple points associated with the Shelby County ordinance trial and kind of an update. It'd be in regards to the email, I believe, that was sent to all of you yesterday evening. I'll just run through a couple quick talking points just to be respectful of time. Just if you didn't know, the court did pass what's called a preliminary injunction associated with that court case on Monday of this week. The court entered an order prohibiting Shelby County from enforcing its ordinance. The court believes that Summit is likely to win its argument that both Iowa law and federal law override the county's ordinance. The county tried to regulate where pipelines can be placed, tried to layer on additional requirements for permits, and tried to punish landowners for entering into easement agreements with the pipeline company. None of that is to be permitted. The ordinance requires companies apply for a county permit, potentially changing the planned route of the pipeline even after receiving a state level permit from the IUB. That could stop Summit from constructing, even if the IUB were to give us a permit at the end of the day. Iowa law requires pipeline companies to get approval from highways, railroads, federal and state agencies when they apply to build the pipeline. The law doesn't mention local governments, implying that municipalities and counties aren't part of the approval process for the pipeline construction portion. The county also found that the Federal Pipeline Safety Act preempts other ordinance provisions through which the county is trying to govern safety aspects of the pipeline project. The federal law expressly states that state and local authorities cannot set or maintain safety standards for interstate pipeline facilities or transportation. The last couple points, the court said that if it didn't stop the county from enforcing the ordinances, Summit could suffer major damages. The loss could be hundreds of millions of dollars or more. Shelby County, being small, wouldn't be able to pay such huge amount. It can never raise enough through taxes, theoretically. So prohibiting the county from enforcing the ordinance is appropriate. And the final point that the court made was that the county, quote, may not pass unenforceable ordinances in a roundabout attempt to undermine valid federal and state laws. Those are the points. And I do have one copy physical. If you prefer to read off that for your own benefit, I'd be more than happy to leave it with you.
Is that what you emailed us?
Yes, sir.
Okay, did we all get that? Okay.
Gotcha. Thank you. If you have any questions, I'll be here for the remainder of the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
Sherry Hunter down by Blanchard. The first thing I just want to mention is that last meeting I watched on Zoom, and Corey, the sound was really good. I could understand even with my kids in the car. So the headsets really help a lot, just for the clarity and just for knowing what's happening. It was so much better to hear each and every one of you. So I appreciate that. The next thing I wanted to talk about is just the word transparency has been going around a lot. And I really appreciate that there's a lot of new interest. I know we don't all agree, but that's what's beautiful about our county is that these three individuals are serving all of us, whether they agree with us or not. And I'm very thankful for the ability to give public comment. It wasn't too long ago that we were not allowed to give public comment before action was taken. And I know that Jacob did push very hard to move comments to the beginning of the meeting so that we could express our concerns before. Also, in the past, I was interrupted several times to tell me how much time I have left because everything was timed. And there was one individual that just watched the stopwatch the whole time and never listened to a word I said. And even when I asked, a question about it, he's like, I'm sorry, I was watching the stopwatch. He wasn't even listening. So I really appreciate you guys letting us air our concerns and take those into consideration, and for just that politeness of it all. The other thing is it true that the former supervisors had voted to stop YouTube uploading videos, right? And so Jacob, is it true that you did that? You took that upon yourself to upload videos so everybody could see those? Okay, because you've been attacked so much about transparency and whether you believe or like his character or whatever, the truth is he wants you to see the whole video and then you can make the judgment. So there's nothing being hidden at all. And it really frustrates me when people keep saying people aren't trying to be transparent. We might disagree, and let's just say that instead of slandering one another. I would really appreciate that. And then, so yeah, that was the public comment thing. And then my other question is, during public comment, is that, are we allowed to be interrupted by the supervisors?
No, I think public comment is your time to speak.
Because I know that last week
That's
Judy had
great.
said that some people had asked you to be quiet. I know it's really frustrating when we feel like we got to hurry through what we're going to say and just to be interrupted. And so I just wanted to make that, just see if that was at all possible, that, a lot of people have respectfully said what they dislike about certain people or certain things that are happening. And I've heard a lot of thank you, but then last week there was an interruption and like a 6-minute public comment from a supervisor. And so I just want to encourage you guys get to talk and discuss during the meeting. So I just want to encourage you to let those that are coming to air their grievances to have their time to do that. I really appreciate it. The next thing I want to mention is gravel road maintenance. I know it doesn't seem as a priority, especially for people that live on hard surfaces, but I have children and I often drive them in poor weather. It's just part of life. And I have a minivan. And so I was going to ask, Jacob, have you ever lived on a gravel road?
Yeah.
Have you ever lived on a gravel road? And have you ever lived on a gravel road?
I have not.
Okay, so those of you that have lived on a gravel road, have you ever not been able to get up a hill? Because my husband and I couldn't get up a hill. It was just started snowing. We were trying to get home quickly and the road was still wet, but the snow was slick and there wasn't any gravel. We had one of those stow and go vans at those times and they're pretty lightweight. We couldn't get up the hill. It's terrifying. And there was another time that I was driving home in the fog. And for those of you that have been around long enough, you know that Invenergy and the substation, they sold it to Mid-America Energy. Mid-America Energy hired Kramer Construction to hook up their fiber optics. It was allowed by the former supervisors for Kramer Construction to dig holes in our road on one side of the road every so many feet, like 25 feet or so. They dug huge holes with a backhoe. And it takes a long time for that to get hard again. And not only that, they did that 1 week after we applied. Brand new gravel. I was so excited for gravel. And then a couple weeks after they did that, there was fog and rain. And we had to drive on the wrong side of the road just to get up the hill in the fog and the rain at night. And so I'm emotional because all my kids were crying and praying and we made it. But I know you think gravel isn't worth the cost, but the truth is we have to cut costs other places or we need to pave all the roads. It's just not fair. And then the other thing, I just wanted to just really quickly, just encourage us all that, I know a lot of you don't believe maybe in the Bible and that's fine, but a lot of you have used the Bible to call out character and there's only one spirit that accuses the brethren and that is the spirit of Satan. So if you're going to attack a man of God on his character, you have to first attack King David, who had an affair and killed a man, or maybe Moses, who killed a man and ran away from what he was supposed to do, or several of the other imperfect people that God used. There's not one perfect person in this room. There's not one perfect person in this county, but we all have assets. We all have personality flaws and we can disagree, but let's do it respectfully and not slander one another. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I have a comment.
Okay.
When we've been talking about roads, I think some people think that I don't care about county roads, and I do. Because I know there are some really bad roads out there, and I've driven a lot of roads lately. They didn't get this way overnight, and they're not gonna be fixed overnight, unfortunately. I understand it's an issue. But we have over 900 miles of roads in Page County. And so it's very difficult to get all of these maintained at the same time and get them in good shape. And I know we have a long way to go, but we have some great guys working in secondary road that are trying to do their best for all the landowners. And I know that J55 was taken from Seal Coat and it was promised to be put back in Seal Coat. And it hasn't been done. However, it will not be done this year. For some reason, people think it's going to be done this year. And it will not be done this year. It cannot be done this year. I've talked to the engineer, 2024. Our secondary road budget is the largest part of our county budget. It's like 40% of our county budget. In FY22, $5,266,000 was spent. In 23, $5,442,000 was spent. And in 24, we have $5,525,000 budgeted. So it's not that we don't try, but it's very difficult. So and I know not having lived on a gravel road, I understand. But it's not going to get fixed overnight. But surely addressing some of those issues, we need to bring those to the engineer and get the, some of those things done in the same way for you, Sherry.
Okay, anybody else? If not, we'll have, who's giving engineer update or somebody coming to give that?
I don't think so. We've got
You've
it.
got the paperwork.
Yeah, I think there's something we're supposed to sign, right?
So we've got something to sign right here.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, on your agenda there, you see we have a title sheet for the bridge replacement project there. You see on your agenda, 190th Street. That's out there, I believe, in your Andy Audie's corner there. I think that's right. And we've got the sheet to go forward with that. So that's what we're doing right now.
Do we need a motion for that?
Yeah, you just have to make a
Okay.
motion.
I'd make a motion that we approve that.
So we sign the title sheet for BRS 073145 6073. I'll second it.
All right, we got the motion to sign that title sheet in a second. We have discussion about that. We kind of said where it is. See it right here on the map. Got it all done. We good to signing that? Okay. Well, I guess just roll call it for fun. I think they want us to see how we each voted.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I will sign it.
Do we
We'll all
want
sign it. We all sign it. Looks
to
like.
read what JD sent?
Yes, go ahead.
Do you want to read it or you want me to read it?
By the way, JD and his tech person are at mid-year conference in Ames, so that's why they're not here. Go ahead, Todd, if you want to read
No,
it.
I don't have it printed out, but you can go ahead. I just didn't know if you wanted to.
Okay. 4 blades are in the districts, 4 blades are on H Avenue, which I saw today when I came back from Montgomery County, between 140th and 170th Street. They're reestablishing the proper width and crown to resurface, doing 1 mile at a time, particularly given the current weather forecast. The crews washing bridge decks on pavements. There's rock haul with 3 trucks, and I saw those today too. Pipe crew, the Beaver Dam removal today, and then moving to 220th and G Avenue, twin 72-inch pipes. Spray patcher crew is south of College Springs and next to Nyman. In the shop, there's a bearing for the sheep's foot. Motor grader 7 had an oil leak fixed. Motor grader 4 will be in for service. Also truck number 24, and he's working on motor grader paperwork to do bids. Bridge construction continues. Essex, the decking forms 280th. The approaches last week. Pre-con meeting on Jade Road on Monday. Planned start date is the week of the 24th of July, midweek. Okay, we've signed the title sheet. He's got an estimate for the Green Bridge of 140,000. It's the same as the previous one. And then JD and Nick are at mid-year conference in Ames.
Now that J Bridge you talked about there is, it's a bridge down here in Northborough that is on a road that can't get money from anywhere else other than just county funds. We did another one kind of by College Springs, last year, I think it was. That was a suggestion he had made a year ago, trying to find money that's not allocated. We could look at using some ARPA money to put that bridge in, and he deemed it's a bridge that would really help to connect. You don't have to go way around. It would be
Yeah.
nice to put it back in infrastructure. Something to think about if we put on the agenda. And we would have the money to put that bridge in down there. That was hard to get money for, so we could accomplish something there. It's it'd be,
Down by Kevin Green's.
no, the College Springs, one. the
Oh,
one you're
sorry.
talking about, Green Bridge. The College Springs one is on the exact road there. When you're coming on J52 and it makes the hard curve north, first hard curve north, past College Springs turn off, you go on the gravel straight, and it's down at the bottom of the hill, Kenny Jackson. Paul Griffith, yeah, it'd be 280, yeah, it'd be the bottom of the hill, 280. Yeah, that's right, so. M and N, yeah, right there between those 2 roads, so. It's that, it got replaced, it was in bad shape, it couldn't hold any weight, they closed it, so it was another one we had to get local funds for to try to keep it open. So that's just something to think about that's coming up. We could put that on there. Anything else on the engineer update? Any thoughts?
That was it.
Okay. Okay, let's see here. So we're done with that. We've signed the sheet. We got that done. Next up, we have going over again what we did last week. We just didn't have action on our agenda to go forward with the jail, sheriff, dispatch, EMA building, putting that on the ballot. We're just putting that back on us. We didn't have the right wording on our agenda. We already voted on it. So it's pretty clear. We'll just go over that again. I did have one little thing. The article was written on that said I said to buy the Shopko building, and I didn't mean to say to buy the Shopko building. I was just using the example. I said, how much is it? And it's $700,000 for 30,000 square feet plus a huge parking lot in a very prime location, which is $23 a square foot just for the building.
I can tell you that building is
I'm
crap.
just using it as an example. It's
Having lived there for
The,
2.5 years, I can tell you.
in the, just for an example, as some of these extra offices, in my own personal opinion, are to have that square footage is gonna be very expensive. Just the EMA, just the emergency management building, instead of park office space connected, 1.285 billion. We're almost 600,000 over buying that building and remodeling. I'm just trying to give an example. I'm not saying buy it, I'm just saying you could spend $600,000 on that and still be where we were to get a total of 2,700 square feet. That's the only point I was trying to make, is it's very expensive for some of those extra things.
I'd
On
like-
that,
Okay.
that's the only point I was trying to make, just clarify that. I did not say buy it, I'm just trying to show example of what it costs per square feet. Anyway, I think a business should go in there. That would be the best, not a county situation. So
Yes, I would like to make a motion.
make a motion.
I would like to make a motion, the same motion we made last week.
Yeah.
That we move forward with putting the jail, the sheriff, the dispatch and EMA in one building under one roof. And that we put that on the ballot in November. To be voted on by the voters of Page County.
Okay,
I'll second that.
okay, we discussed it at length, so I'm good with voting if you're good with voting.
Yep,
Okay, all right, we'll roll call in.
yes.
Yes,
We'll vote no, as I think the extra offices could be done more efficiently, but I do believe the jail is needed, but I think that's gonna hurt our chances in November, so I vote no. Okay, got that done. I passed. All right, now we're up to Greg Wow, if I'm right here.
Good evening, I'm Greg Wild from Sammy's Group. Last week, we had a great discussion about the future of Page County law enforcement and the law enforcement center. And you had asked me to provide a proposal for community engagement services to help inform the taxpayers of Page County what the proposed plan entails, what it looks like, what will end up as a cost estimate, and what would be included and such. So earlier in the week, I provided that professional services agreement to the supervisors and also to the sheriff. And I'm available to answer questions or provide insights.
Get an extra one of those there.
I do.
I do not have mine with me. Thank you.
There is the proposal bill.
what, oh, on the S.C. Davison land, down south of Orchland, it's part in the city and part in the county. No, not that far,
Kinda,
not that far back, right? Not that far back.
It's gonna be
Speak
north
to it, Lyle.
of the house, I think was what we talked about.
It's north of the house, yeah.
So the location that we're looking at right now, that has been decided by the jail committee, which is comprised of myself, Chief Deputy Charles McCullough from the Sheriff's Office, Chief Jailer Tony Shackelford from the Sheriff's Office. Greg Wild has been there since the board has hired him to represent us. The mayor and city administrator from the city of Shenandoah, the city administrator from the city of Clarinda, Supervisor Holmes was there, Supervisor Clark was there for one meeting. However, there was a conflict about whether it was posted or not, and Supervisor Holmes left that meeting. Supervisor Holmes, or Clark did stay, excuse me, Supervisor Clark was the one that was there. And
When we discussed that at length, it
yes,
was,
we did. So that is where we're looking, we have made the suggestion to look at that. There was two sites that we were looking at. Specifically down, it came down to two. The other one was up by the tower just on the west side of Clarinda here. Unfortunately, the county owned that property at one time and then sold it. And that individual doesn't wish to sell back where we would like to put the jail. The sheriff's office, dispatch and EMA.
now on that, there's 5 acres along 71, another 5 acres directly kind of in line with Orchland's, or back there farther in line with the house.
A little farther to the west than highway.
Farther west to leave something open if there ever was a business of some sort, that would be
That's what the.
advantageous. We talked a lot about that, scoot it back at the end of the lane, and up to the north.
Yeah, so it'll all be, if you're familiar with the SE, excuse me, the SE Davison farm down here, there was an old house back there. The driveway came off of Highway 71, went west. And this will all be on the north side of the driveway. Back approximately 500 foot off the highway, approximately.
Would be,
Does that answer your question? Oh, sorry, I didn't know who answered. That's, okay.
this cost of this is $21,000 to $30,000, if I'm looking at it right. Okay,
Correct. I
And
gave
that's-
you a range of that,
and that's to do a website and mailers, and meetings, and a lot of just basically selling it.
there's no selling.
Well,
We,
that's-
we are not in business of selling this to taxpayers. So let's be very clear about that. It's to inform and educate and help explain the facts, which start with the need and then go to the solution, the proposed solution. And then the impacts of that proposed solution will also be explained in terms of the potential tax impact to individual taxpayers.
So this is made basically for a digital and paper campaign.
That is correct. That is
There's
correct.
no plans in this or anything like that. It's just a,
That is correct. Now, in to touch on the plans or floor plans, schematic drawings and renderings, I did go back and look at our fees that we had charged for phase one of the jail study, which has been paid in full. That was a $15,000 fee. Was engaged back in May of 2021 and completed in October of that, basically the fall of that year. Phase two, we were engaged to help take that to a schematic design, help in terms of site selection. And I look at all the various places that we might consider.
that's what this is, right?
That is what that is, and also to come up with the cost estimates of what that would entail. So, so far, we have, of that $25,000 engagement, we have expended about $10,000. So there's just under $15,000 still available to help with the schematic, finish the schematic design, provide renderings, and help the taxpayers understand what this might look like.
On this, we've been involved in campaigns, Todd, you know, we've had to spend money on all the stuff it takes to campaign something. I think that's way too much money. Way too much money to do this issue. So
Yeah,
maybe some money, but
I was just wondering where it was gonna, like, you know, what we were gonna,
it sounds like it's gonna be a website and I don't know, some mailers and meetings, postcards. That's a lot of money.
It's really important to educate the voters. If you do not educate the voters on a bond issue, it will not pass.
I'm all right with educating with 21 to 30,000. I mean, we've all run a campaign for $5,000. You could do some serious educating. You could send mailers, cards and meetings. I don't want to spend $30,000 on stuff that doesn't really have any. I mean, how many cards are you gonna send out? How many mailers can you do?
if we went, sorry,
Just-
if we went on our own and decided to promote this, would you still be part of the promotion? Is that, I mean, so let's say Samuel's group is doing the schematics and you're doing the design and the building of the jail.
We would hand
you
those to you. We would hand those to you. Here are the schematics.
Okay.
Here are the cost estimates.
But
Here are the
you wouldn't
renderings.
be part of, you wouldn't want any part of like talking to the public.
Well,
or
sure, we'd love to have part of that. Are we going
But you
to,
wouldn't do it without.
there needs to be some amount of compensation for that.
Okay, yep.
And I will tell you, and I would encourage you to reach out to other communities that we have assisted in terms of community engagement. The level of effort and the amount of support that we provide, I know it seems like a large dollar amount, but it pales in comparison of what we actually expend in terms of human effort and expense to help further the opportunity to inform those taxpayers.
Have you been successful in every endeavor that you've done with the public in that format where they had a bond issue coming up and you were taking part in flyers and websites and things?
That's
You
a
have
very good question.
100%. Hey, we got the bond issue through every time.
That's a very good question, and I will tell you this. In Iowa, in the last 12 years, the bond efforts that we have been involved in for jail or law enforcement center or justice related have passed every single time on the first attempt with the same group. We have a process we have an understanding, we have a system that helps taxpayers understand what's at stake.
But if it doesn't pass, we've spent money in vain. So I'm all right with educating, but 21 to 30,000 is a lot of money. I mean, we've done campaigns. We know what it costs to mailers out. We know what this is. So if we double that, 10,000 would be a lot of money for setting up a Facebook page and sending out some cards. I don't know how many times you send the same card to somebody. I mean, we also have a newspaper in KMA doing stories on this almost every week. I think the county is fairly informed.
One of the things that, when we looked into this, the Samuels Group, even before the board approved going with them, was talking with other sheriffs that had used them. They're very professional. They educate the public. They don't try to sell a new jail to anybody.
That is what it is. It's selling something. You
No.
believe it's good.
No, Jacob, I'm gonna disagree 110% right here with you. Because the first thing you do is educate what it's gonna cost you.
Yeah.
I think everybody in this county wants to know, if we're gonna spend this kind of money, what is it gonna do to my property taxes?
Right.
I wanna know. And they have the formulas, they have the know-how, and they can put it to you, and they will sit down at a meeting, a public meeting, which they have, and say, this is exactly what your property taxes are, bring in your tax thing. They will figure it into their formula with what the bond is, and they will tell you what your property taxes will go up. and
You know,
what
if you tell
percentage goes
somebody
there.
what they need and what it costs, that's selling it to them. I'm not saying sell's a bad thing. You're saying, here's what you need, here's what it costs. That is selling. It's
You
not a
and
bad
I
thing.
come from a different background evidently, because that's being informed about what you vote on, and I want everybody to be as
Yeah.
informed as we can.
Yes.
Because as Sherry brought it up, it's transparency.
Yeah.
I don't want anything hidden on this. I want everybody to know
Right.
what it's gonna cost them, what they're getting for their money, and what the life expectancy of this is under realistic terms.
Right. That's good.
Because we have been a long time coming on this.
Okay.
We have looked at other jails. We have found different pluses and minuses to other centers, whether it's in the sheriff's office, whether it's in the law enforcement or the dispatch, as far as the jail itself. Have you toured any of the jails in our area? Have you
No,
gone
I
in
have
and
not.
said, I'm Jacob Holmes supervisor, can
No,
I
I
set
have
up a
not.
meeting? Todd, have you?
I have not.
Judy, have you?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
One thing I would encourage all of you to do is tour
Yeah.
as many jails you can.
Yeah, touring, I'm not building a jail. I'm not signing up to build it. I have talked to supervisors from those counties. And
Okay,
things they encountered with fees and other things were very expensive and things they would
They
do
do.
differently. And to imply that we haven't looked into that's kind of misleading somewhat. So, I have, I don't know about the rest of it. And we're looking at fees right now. I'm trying to look at tax dollars here, and I want to make sure people know, I think we need a jail. And I don't think selling, I don't know why that's a bad word. That's what you're doing in my mind. But I'm looking at 21 to 30,000, make some postcards and have a meeting. We're just trying to make sure as much money, don't spend any more than we have to make sure everybody's informed. Is all I'm saying. It's not
I think
we can spend, why don't we spend 100,000? We can send out everybody a card every day. I mean, where do you draw the line?
Greg,
People need to be informed.
I have a question. I'm trying to remember back. It used to be that we could not support. The supervisors could not come out and work on getting a bond issue passed. Is that still?
That is correct.
Okay,
The
so the supervisors cannot do that.
are, by Iowa law, not allowed to encourage, you can inform and you can share information and such, but
Yes.
you are not allowed to encourage a yes vote at all.
Okay,
Uh,
I thought that was still in place. So yeah, we have to be very, very careful, Jacob and Todd, as to what we do.
The other thing I'll tell you is that, so today's world is driven by social media. As you probably are aware, and social media takes that long for misinformation to become spread like wildfire. So one of the things that we will do is we will monitor social media and we will provide opportunities to respond to those kinds of posts with factual information. if you don't have somebody who is monitoring and watching what's going on, what the chatter is like, there's an opportunity for misinformation to become misunderstood. So that's one of the things that we will, as part of our services, will help guide the process of monitoring those social media and responding to those with, again, factual information.
Monitor and the newspaper as well, make sure that information is accurate. I know that's.
We do, and we have some limitations as to what we're able to, we can't make a public newspaper. Absolutely, absolutely, both radio and newspaper print.
What the tax base will be with what you've got figured out now.
A year ago, we came and outlined what that tax impact was like. And I'm sorry, but it's been a year and I don't have that number right on the top of my head, but that will be part of that conversation, is to help people understand what that tax impact looks like. We actually used an example of an average house in Page County and actually applied the potential tax impact to that average house. So, and that's part of that process, is to help people understand what the tax impact looks like. But one of the other things that we will do on the website that we'll develop is we'll actually be able to put in a little widget. So you can put your parcel numbers in, and based on those parcel numbers, you can then see the potential tax impact based on the final numbers that will be proposed. Again, to help you understand what you would actually be voting for or against.
We need. Go ahead. Amy.
Social media, which you were saying that yes, there are many posts and some of them get quite hot and things like that. That is part of the game. And that you said you would be informing with facts. And I'm also making sure that you will not be censoring people's First Amendment right to express their opinion.
We wouldn't censure anybody's right to express their opinion. So it's not like it's an open forum. What we create is a website that is, again, based on factual information and represents what the board has approved. We also create a Facebook page, again, based on that same factual data and information. If people want to say for or against something, that's up to them.
How many dollars do we think here? That's what it comes down to.
I'm sorry?
I asked, Judy, what do you think? How many dollars you want to spend on this? I want to spend enough to educate, but not any extra, because we don't want to waste money.
And one thing I would encourage while you're still in discussion is to look at what the impact of having a jail or having the public informed versus not having them informed. We all know what it costs to have an election, and this would not be anything that wouldn't already be in an election. But I want you to think about what the impact of not informing the public in Page County has done. If you look at past bonds or past votes, I want you to look at that. I know that there has been talk that they're not going to vote for this or that. If you inform them what they're paying for, they can make educated votes. If you don't inform them in town hall meetings, which is what Samuel's group is proposing, in social media and factual information, and I say inform, then it sits on your three shoulders of what happens if it doesn't get the information to the public.
It also sits on our shoulders if we waste money we don't need to spend. So I'm not saying not do it. We just gotta be careful we don't. I mean, you're a salesman, right? Is a sales group say, are you doing just a service for the county?
Yes, they're doing.
That's not a hard question to answer. I mean, is that, yes, you are. So we're trying to act as the people buying the service. Be careful. That's not wrong.
No.
And we're trying to inform people. We have to answer the taxpayer. We did the best we could with their money to make sure they're informed, but didn't waste it.
No,
And you're selling something, so we're trying to be the buyers.
I truly don't believe, as a taxpayer and a sheriff, that the Samuels Group is going to waste this money in talking to other areas that have had this, other counties. I truly believe, and if I didn't believe it, I wouldn't be up here, but I truly believe that these people, Samuels Group, are the people that we want promoting honesty in our county.
I think it's very important to do this because we did this with the bond issue at the courthouse. When we restored this building, we did our best to educate. Mace was on that committee, Shira was on that committee. That was the big thing, was educate them, tell them how much it was going to cost them for the properties that they own. And I think that's really, really important. And at this point, I don't think dollars, I don't think we can cut them short and get the true word out to the people.
Is there any, so 21 to 30,000, there's $9,000 swing there.
And the reason for that $9,000 swing, you notice in the kind of that area, and I don't have it in front of me, I gave it to Jacob, but there's a 7,000 to, I think.
7,000 to 12,000.
$12,000 range. And so I try to capture that $7,000, at least that minimum, to try to get you to understand it. That may be necessary. I don't know yet.
Okay.
Part of it honestly will depend on what happens in the county and how you want to choose to respond and how quickly and how frequently and how often that needs to occur.
Is there potential to come under the 21,000 or not?
It might. I will guarantee you that we will put in 2 to 3 times the 21,000.
And then as everything is spent, is it itemized so that we can see exactly where that money is going?
I don't itemize every single printing. I don't itemize, and the printing and postage and those sorts of things will be additional because we just don't know how many we need to send out yet.
So this doesn't include any actual printing or postage.
Which again is part of that $7,000 estimate to cover the things that you will likely need.
So that's on top of the 30?
No,
That's within that 21 to
it's in that.
that's why it's such a range.
to $30,000 range.
So you're basically 21,000 to look at Facebook and make a website.
And attend meetings, create the website, add the widget to it, which is customized to this county, not a neighboring county, to respond to whatever happens in terms of a vocal no, or misinformation that begins.
I think the widget on there is fantastic to be able to go in and find out what you don't have to do it manually. You could just go in there and see what it is. So,
And it takes a little time and it takes a lot of effort
yeah,
to program and create that. It's not something I just pull off the shelf and say, here you are.
I think the voters would appreciate that. And look, we want the voters to go to the polls. We want them to be educated voters. We want them to know exactly what is what.
Yep.
And what they're voting on and why it is as expensive as it is. And, we want them to be educated. Shira, can you? Jacob, can you, Shira talk?
Oh, sorry. So you're here. Is there a microphone? So once microphones are back here.
Oh, yeah, we can just.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes, I really do feel that our county does need to be educated. And one thing that I think should come into that education is, what if the bond is not passed? And then state closes our jail down? And then we have to transport our prisoners to another jail. Think of what the county will have to pay for that transportation, and then also how much is charged every night to hold that prisoner in another jail. And that can add up to a lot of money. So I think that also needs to be in that information.
That information will be covered in the understanding the need of why a new jail is necessary. So.
Okay, so we're
Do you think too that some of this would go a long way, with the jail inspection? People that come down from the state? If we take this next step, as far as when they're, inspecting and giving us some leeway on some of the things, and so the threat of closure would not be as imminent on any given inspection, if they knew we were taking this step as far as a bond issue and going on to build, because we know it's going to take 4 or 5 years to build the jail, right? So in those next 4 or 5 years, when we're getting our jail inspected, are we likely not to get shut down? Because they've been working with us, knowing that we're making improvements and things like that to our jail, even though it's kind of limping along. I guess what I'm saying is, does this alleviate some of that pressure of them saying, hey, you know what, we're going to close you down? And for 3 or 4 years, we got to pay to take prisoners somewhere else.
I think, and correct me if I'm wrong here, what you're saying is as long as we're moving forward with a jail project that we can keep in operations, and we are still trying to.
Correct.
They know that we're
Does that
trying
paint
to
a
get to
better
a point.
picture
Yes.
with the inspection people versus if we?
I don't know if it's a better picture. They know that we're trying to improve the quality for our staff, as well as the people that we house, the inmates in there. With the Iowa jail standards, there are certain things that are required by law that we do. I'm not gonna say I like every one of them, but that is something that is under the law that we have to follow, and I swore an oath to it, and that's what we will have to follow. But yes, that is the conversations my staff has had with the state jail inspector. Yes, that is an answer.
How about if we give you 21,000, you do the mailing also, you do our mailing too, so you work a little, you're gonna get, if this goes through, like you said, you're willing to work for less, you're gonna make money on the next phase. How about that? You do the mailing, 21,000.
How about
We'll do the
what?
21,000, that's gotta include the mailing and the postage also. How about
I
that?
won't agree to that.
That'd be. Well, I don't know, $30,000, but, because we've done mailing, I've done this, I've had to mail out cards and all that stuff. We have an IT guy that could maybe take a little less too, maybe.
And that's certainly one of the things that if you and your staff feel that you have the ability and the assets to do parts of that, that's great.
Where does
If
that?
you have printing available that can do that, and mail services and postage, that's
Can we do
great.
that legally?
Yeah, legally, that's
I
what I was.
don't think we can.
Did you just say that we could not push the agenda?
Again, we're gonna be informing and educating. We're not going to be encouraging a yes vote. That's
Right.
not what we do.
But does it look like, if we took that on ourselves, would that look like we were encouraging a yes vote? That's what I'm
I
trying to
would
get
say
at.
it would.
So,
yeah.
Well, I'm trying to get the best deal we can. 30,000
Right.
seems like a lot of money for what we're talking about. I bought a lot of things, it seems like a lot.
You're not saying the postage is gonna cost $7,000, you just have that postage paid.
That is correct. We have a fund available that we can use. It might cost $1,000, it might cost $600. The printing might cost 40. I don't know what that's going to cost, but those hard costs would be separate, and that's what that $7,000 estimate is for.
would there be a way to move forward on that and get the hard, the set costs before? Like a set clear estimate, or is this as good as we're probably gonna get for, I guess, committing to the.
I mean, I could come back and try to break down what each of these elements might reasonably cost, if that helps you. And I'm happy to do that, but there's no way I can estimate what the postage is going to be, what the printing cost is going to be. I don't know how many we're going to need, how many times you're going to want to send out messages, how quickly we're going to need to respond. That's one of those unknowns. I can't give you a number for. That's why I gave you a range.
And postage just went up again, so.
On those mailers, what I have done, when we had to do this for election stuff, is you have a company do that for you, and you give them a design and they mail them. You don't go handle things. They mail them all out to box holders or voters or registered voters or whatever. Taxpayers. So it's basically you design it on a screen and then you hit, and they do it all.
This is different than this. The jail project is a huge, huge project. It's not like one of us trying to be elected
But it's,
to an office. No, it's totally different, Jacob. We're running for an office in the county. We're not trying to build a $15,000 or $15 million jail. It's a huge thing.
Could we start, like, let's say we voted, I'm just throwing this hypothetical, could we vote and say, we're gonna vote to spend 21,000? You guys run that and use that money, and if there came a time when you, hey, we're 21,000, we're down to 5,000 left. We may need to have some more. Is that possible to come back and say, hey, we could add that?
Absolutely. If that's how you would like to proceed, yes, I just can't throw unknown expenses in and cover those because I don't know what those unknown expenses are.
No, and I think if you just say, okay, we're gonna start with this, let's see what that gets us.
Yep.
And, you know, if we have to come back and talk about, then we can also see, is it being effective?
Is it
Do we feel
effective?
Like it's
Is it
good money
efficient?
being spent, or is it not?
At any point as we're going through this process, if you want to say, stop, we stop, whatever
The public
whatever
isn't
point,
receiving it. Yes.
then we stop it based on where we're at that point, and that's where we end it.
Okay,
We'll
Okay,
do that,
so
so not to exceed or something, you come to us.
yeah,
I'm good with that.
you good with that?
I think so.
So could I make a motion that we do this for 21,000 and not to exceed 21,000?
there was some dollars and cents in there. Sorry, I don't have the number in front of me, but
It was 21,845. So could we say 22,000, Todd?
22,000, yeah, we'll just round up,
Let's
make
go
it
to
easy.
22,000. And then maybe not to exceed, then we come back.
Yeah, and not to exceed the 22,000, but then come back if money would, and then also give us the option if we felt like it wasn't successful or it's not what we
Just stop.
envisioned, we could stop it. Is what you're saying,
We
correct?
terminate at any time.
No,
Use the
no, go ahead.
microphone, Crystal.
Yeah, please,
Crystal,
you wanna
use
use
the
the
microphone.
microphone? Sorry, yeah.
Look, this might be a stupid question. Jacob's wanting to use an outside company. But we still have to pay that outside company. So do you feel like that outside company is be cheaper or just do the package that they're offering? Is that where your argument is? You feel like it would be cheaper to use an outside company? Because either way, we're still using money.
Right, the point I was trying to make was, you can send a lot of postcards out for not that much money. So that's the only point I'm making. I've done this. I've sent out cards. I don't know if you guys did, but I was just trying to say, you don't have to go and stamp every postcard is what I'm saying. You can have, and I don't think you will.
we won't, Jacob. In fact, the firms that you're referring to are the firms that will reach out.
Exactly, it'd be the same people.
So
I'm
the
just-
same people. So
So,
it's not something foreign at all.
yeah, so that's the only point we're trying to make is that we're talking about a lot of dollars here and those are hard things to, you have to have postage, you have to deliver them, that costs a lot of money. Some of this stuff is kind of 22,000 for, it's subjective to how much that's worth. So anyway, I'm fine with that. I think it's a lot of money.
I think
I'd like
it gives
to be-
us some control.
Yes,
And obviously, you know, we can, like he said, we could stop at any time if
Yeah.
we felt like it was not successful or, you know, the public wasn't buying into, you know, coming to meetings or whatever. So,
I try to get as much done as we can do and inform everybody at the best price we can.
I would like to second Todd's motion.
Okay, let's make sure we second that. So we have-
Are we done with discussion?
Yes, that's
yeah,
right.
unless
We
you
can
have,
discuss-
you have some data.
We can discuss more after the
Yeah,
second.
we need to second it. I'm sorry about that. So,
The motion is
Okay,
to do a maximum of $22,000
Yep,
with the option to come back for more if necessary.
right. And the
Or
option,
terminate.
to stop. I don't know how you want to stop or stop the,
terminate agreement
terminate the contract if he's, you know,
at no cost.
and
So are you signing the agreement or are you making your own?
No, it needs to be
Yeah.
signing the agreement.
Then if you sign
Yes.
that agreement, it's to the county attorney.
Well, we're gonna, it'll be amended. Our agreement will be on our motion, not on what this says. So make that for the record, then let's get our second. We got a second. Did you second it?
I second.
So now we're in discussion. We'll make sure the motion is correct. We'll read it back. Sorry for not doing that properly.
Maher made a motion to move forward with the.
Microphone, please. Thank you.
Maher made a motion to move forward with spending 22,000 with the Samuels Group, but not to exceed 22,000 with the option to come back for more if necessary, or the option to stop anytime.
And we probably need to add on that pending the county attorney's approval of the agreement,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
Yeah, I'm not,
that's probably a good idea.
and if it's not, we'll have to come back, because our vote won't matter if it doesn't match it.
Does that
So-
sound right?
Sure. So we,
Approval.
Approval of the contract, of the agreement.
Did you want more discussion now? Or-
well, we've had a lot of, we kind of got out of order there. We should have seconded the discussion. Sorry about that. So we've had a lot of discussion.
Right.
On the termination. I don't want there to be fees if we terminate. I mean, if we stop it, you
Is
said
there-
that, but I want.
Is there fees when we?
The only fees would be
What
what we
we've
spent
spent.
today
Right.
to the date that it terminates.
As long as we're clear with that.
Okay.
Okay, and let's roll call that if you want. I think we've had enough discussion probably, I guess.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes. Okay. All right, I got that done. Thank you for coming down here. You bet. Being here tonight. Okay, next thing we have up is, where we at? Oh, all right, we're to the part about going forward with the joint board to operate a new law enforcement centers, LEC is with Clarinda. So to add them into the jail project, is what's on the agenda.
and I sent, a request to Greg to have him clarify, the authority board, and it was not what I remembered from last week. So anyway, Article 5 states that the authority, a separate authority and its commissioners gets created, one elected by the Board of Supervisors from the area outside the county seat, so it would be outside of Clarinda for a 2-year term. One elected by the council of the city area inside the county seat for a 4-year term, so that would be Clarinda. And one elected by joint action of the Board of Supervisors and the city council that both agree on. And if there's no agreement on the third member, then he or she is appointed by the governor for an initial 6-year term. Once formed and named, the commissioners will determine and designate a chairperson, a secretary, and a treasurer. And after the initial service, new or repeat commissioners serve a 6-year term that staggers every 2 years. And how long does this have to go on? Forever? Okay. I didn't realize it would go on forever and ever. So, Lyle, you want to talk about that?
Well, since we're talking about that with the jail, I'm kind of in charge of that. I guess my question is, are you in agreement, or do we have action to have a joint building with the city of Clarinda that requires the authority board?
And I've been thinking about this. If they've got $2 million to spend, why don't they just build a jail somewhere in Clarinda?
Not a jail, they're not building
I
a
mean,
jail.
build their office, sorry, build it,
A law enforcement center,
Build their law-
Clarinda Police Department.
police department,
That
builds, no jail. Why don't they just build, they got $2 million, why connect it us and make all this?
Okay, let me ask a question. If they want to build theirs as a separate building, could we grant them the land next to the law enforcement center to build it
And maybe we can, I don't know, I thought about
as
that,
totally separate?
yeah, like I said, not.
But we say, okay, Clarinda, you've got the money. We're gonna give you this
We're gonna give
little
you
piece of land
Yeah.
and you can build it right next
You
to
know,
it.
the city has land and, you know, where they built that Mid-America building behind Orphans. They sold that for 2 acres for $21,000. So.
The city sold it or the
Yeah, the
county?
city sold it.
There's your 21,000 for.
Well, what I'm saying is, I don't think, I've had people call me about this, and some of these things are, you know, it's like we're becoming roommates. And whose ketchup is it? Who's, you know, and even you brought that up. It gets to be pretty sticky. And we're giving them the land now. I mean, that's the deal. I mean, I'm not against it altogether, but are we giving things? I don't know what we're getting into. It could be kind of a weird situation because we're not married. You see, we're just kind of trying to operate together and that could make a lot of headaches. So I don't know what to think about this.
Gary,
But if they had $2 million, maybe they could build their own home.
can you purchase the land from us for a little bit?
Are we able to sell that land? Because it's a family.
We've sold it to the city of Florinda.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
as I say, because we did, we bought that from
Yeah,
the county. And the reason we sold it so cheap, Jacob, was because we were trying to promote economic development.
I know.
That's why we didn't try to make a lot of money.
I know, we looked into that and it's raised almost zero taxes, a few $100s, because if they had to break on taxes, they don't pay any taxes. Really. So anyway, yeah, that's just, but that land's valuable. The county sold that to the city and then they did something with it. This is just off topic here. So it just, I want to be careful selling land. We want to be careful with our land, like anybody does, like the city does too.
Well, so just so you know, we got 21,000 twice out of that, because we did sell it initially for a Mexican restaurant.
Place.
And they didn't fulfill the requirements of the resolution, so we got it back and we did not have to refund the money. So actually, we got 42,000 out of
But
it.
the property sold $21,000 to
Yeah.
Mid-America Energy. So
Yeah.
so would it in good faith, if Florinda, if the city of Florinda has 21,000 and you want to purchase that land adjoining but not attached to the jail building itself, would we be able to do that?
I don't know if we know that tonight. I don't know if we know
But
that.
would you consider it?
I'd have to
I
think
would
about it.
consider it.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, I think it's better. I'm not in favor of having it under one building, one.
Right.
And
Right.
so, I mean, I'm just not, so.
Is the city needing land to build the jail on? They don't have land. to build
It
the
would be
jail on?
ideal to have it close to the jail. I believe that.
Yeah,
Police ideal.
Police department, whatever. I consider those things similar sometimes, but
Yeah.
police department, your office for your officers. So,
Yeah.
okay.
Like I said, ideally, we would like to have it next to the jail or as close as possible.
But not
Right,
attached to it, so we don't have to go through this.
Doesn't necessarily.
And the city limits of Clarinda is not very far from the police.
So would you guys consider selling some land then, I guess?
I'd have to think about it and make sure what that entails. Every time we think of one thing, there's 10 other things. that come up, it seems like. So,
Sure. Yeah, because I read through the code today on this joint authority.
It's like
board,
really, no.
Yeah, and it is forever duty.
Yeah.
It is forever. And I was reading through it and yeah, there's a lot to that.
Right,
A
Yeah,
lot to
yeah.
it.
So
And
rather
a lot
than-
has to be done before you can put it on ballot. And actually, by approving the recommendation to move forward, that pretty much did away with the joint authority board, because the joint authority board is actually the board that has to put it as a referendum.
They do.
Okay,
Yeah.
I see.
So honestly, by approving that first one, that pretty much took care of that.
okay.
So we need to
But so that's something that we could
look into
consider.
land and
Yeah.
we can look at it. I don't know. We just need to look at it.
I would like to move forward and research it
Yeah,
And-
that's fine. And
and
have some public
Sure.
input.
get back to you on that. I mean, I think it's an
Yeah.
option.
Sure. If you want, I can work directly with you guys on that, so.
Yeah, see what, just put it out there so everybody knows if there's any kind of ideas on that and look at it.
And I will tell you, obviously, it's not my decision, it's a city council, but
Right,
I would have to sell that to them as well.
Right.
understand.
Land.
The advantage is being right next to the jail.
But yeah, the advantage is being next to the law enforcement. So
And I understand that. So close as can be.
Red Oak did the same thing, Shirley.
yeah,
They- they-
Is theirs connected though? I think it is.
It wasn't in the beginning, but it is now.
Yeah, I thought it was.
And actually, when I toured there today, their offices are actually intermingled, which I don't think this would be at all. So
Yeah.
it'd be separate all by itself.
I understand the convenience. We just need to explore it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. We can do that. All right, well, I guess that kind of solves that. We're learning together here on all this. Okay. You know. Are we done on that? Next thing we have is the action down there. We changed the wording on that we did the other day, and then and discussion started early and we missed the second, like we almost did a minute ago. We've had our discussion on that, hiring gross Welch marks for the defense, the county board. So, I mean, Supervisor Mayor and Supervisor Holmes, we amended that. Nobody feel need other discussion on that, and we'll vote on that.
I'm still
Yeah,
opposed to
we
it.
kind of already voted. but
We voted, we did a
Just to
second,
make
so I need a motion and a second. We didn't do it properly.
Yeah, I'll motion that.
Motion that we go forward with that.
Yep. Yeah,
Okay, I'll second that, I guess. The motion second, we discussed at length, go forward and hire them and help us out, look into things. So we roll call, please.
yes.
No,
Yes. Okay. That done.
the question was raised last week on how you're going to pay for this. 3 times it was asked.
Just that very Hartfield, $10,000, which was something that I would have paid for,
Well-
but I'm not. gonna pay for that.
Well, the board will look into the budget and consider where to get it from.
I would like to know exactly what line it's coming out of when you let us know.
Well, when it comes that day, we'll figure it out.
Your budget's in front of you.
Well, we'll have to look into it.
We still need to have someone investigate,
Yes, we
Yes.
need to get that. That's a good question.
and it cannot be this law firm because
Exactly,
they
no.
cannot defend and
Um,
investigate.
Been a lot of confusion about that. This is not,
No, this is just to
This is-
defend you two.
yes, we're not gonna get into this long discussion. We asked when, where, and what happened. They said it's confidential. So I think we need some help with people when you tell us when or where something happened. That's why we're doing this. So anyway.
That's why it's supposed to be investigated first before you hire someone to defend you.
When you're accused of something, you should know where it happened. So we've discussed it at length. Anyway, we'll worry about that when it comes to, as far as this goes
I would just say one thing, I will make a pledge that you'll know exactly where
Oh,
everything
heavens,
comes
yes.
from, because, yes,
Yeah.
and we will definitely be forthcoming to the public as far as what we're spending, where it's coming out of, what we're doing. I would remind everybody that, we took a pay cut the very first year, or
Yeah.
for this beginning of the year, which was
Thousands.
3,000 apiece. So we're saving the county, or maybe it's 3,000 total. I can't remember. 3,000 is in there somewhere. I was doing the calculations, but
Yeah.
we have tried to do as much as we can to save the county money.
Right,
And I think what I looked at, I think we pay Ehlers and Cooney $350 an hour. And this law firm is $310. So it's a little cheaper, but yeah, definitely we're going to be upfront with everybody and make sure everybody knows. So there's nothing hidden, nothing
no,
secretive about anything.
And the protection, whoever did file, obviously this investigation is not gonna release their name because it's confidential.
Right, yeah, and nobody's asked for their name. I mean, nobody's pressuring anybody to give up any names or the one thing that we asked, and I asked Carl this too, when that came out, is could I see a copy of the complaint? Because I didn't understand where this happened or what happened
right.
and he said it was confidential. He couldn't release that since it was an internal matter. So, I still don't know anything about it. I don't know. This is all new to me. So,
Well, I appreciate
Just-
your word on.
but I will definitely make sure that everybody knows where the money's coming from and what we're doing. Okay.
Been very conservative. We don't want to waste any money. Okay. Here we go. So we're on the wind ordinance is the next thing up. And we have what Carl sent us on the wind ordinance to amend. Did you guys see that all?
Yeah, and I looked at that. The one thing that was missing was the lighting.
Yes, I noticed that. I made some notes.
And
You
okay,
have it in front of you?
I don't have it in front of me because my printer broke.
I understand that.
I think I have it.
Yes, two of them.
Looking at it on my phone.
There's one.
Thank you.
And,
Did Lyle want to say something?
No, that's fine.
Well, are you sure?
okay. All right.
Sorry.
I'm looking down too much. I got anything? Good? Okay. On the wind ordinance, things he was amending and fixing, I did notice there, if you go to number 2 on the first page. You see that?
Yeah.
On A, it says, maximum decimal levels produced by wind turbines is measured by non-participating, it says residences. Did we talk about that being anywhere on the property? Should not go over that. I don't remember what we discussed. What do we think right now? We can talk about it right now. You see that number A on number 2,
Yeah, so we talked about 40 decibels.
but where does it measure from? The residence or anywhere on your? Because if you don't have a residence, you wouldn't have
I
that.
would think it would be from the residents.
Well, I mean, if you don't have a residence, though, it needs to be from the
Oh.
property line. You
Yeah.
see if you've got land and you want to build. It needs to be just anywhere on your property that doesn't encroach on you.
Okay,
Does that make, that's what I think. I just thought maybe that word needed changed.
so it needed, you think more of the
I think probably,
property line instead of residents?
I think so. I don't remember what we discussed back then. We can talk about it now if you want.
I guess I was just thinking of noise at the residence.
Yeah, but the people that have a farm that might build a house on someday might get it. I don't think it's gonna matter with the setback anyway. I'm just trying to make sure the words match what we're saying, because everything else is property line.
Okay, well, I'm good with if we want to change that for property line.
Okay? You have
What do you
opinion
think,
on that,
Judy?
Judy?
Do you, or do you don't care?
Okay. What did I have here?
So what are you changing?
Just that word residence to property line on A section number
So
6.
you're taking non-participating.
No, just the word residence. Measured at non-participating property line. If somebody wants to participate, we don't mind if they do, you know, like. Figure that out somehow. Okay.
Can I ask a question? This question.
We have a little microphone here. Yeah, you're gonna be exercise. Your salary.
Just a simple question, is the supervisors opening up can of worms with the county as far as any other mechanical or ag-related equipment that causes a lot of noise?
This is only.
Just asking the question.
Yes, thank you. This is only for commercial wind energy systems over, you know, that's what this ordinance is for.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we would probably have to look at that just to make sure that we're covered. that
I'm
we're
just
not-
asking if you're setting a precedence, that's all I'm asking.
Yeah.
I think
This
it's,
ordinance applies to, we can ask that, the ordinance applies to only these commercial wind energy production things. Okay, then on,
But that really didn't answer his question.
well, and I think what he's asking is, so if we set this, say 40 decibels. Then let's say somebody puts a grain elevator or something that's running a dryer and they say. Oh, that was you, not me. And anyway, so they would say that, well, so-and-so's at 40 decibels, we gotta make them 40 decibels, because that's the precedent that's being set. Or the wind turbine company could come back and say, well, listen, your grain elevator is running at 80 decibels
I
just
understand.
across the road from you, and you're making me go by 40.
yes, you see the top thing there in bold. I don't know if this is all we need to say, but it says. Amending Page County ordinance regulating the placement of wind energy conversion systems on property located in the unincorporated areas of Page County. So we'll see, we look at,
Right.
but it does, it's.
But I think that's what is,
Yeah.
because if you set a precedent, you're opening yourself up sometimes to,
Something else,
somebody else may say, well, mine's, doing this.
right?
So, all right.
We can sure check into that, but I think that's what that covers. So
Okay.
that's another thing to look at. Okay. Was thinking crazy. Now on the right of way, do you see the right of way on section 5 on the back page? Number 5. Number 5 on the back page down on B right of way. It says 1.1 times the height of the right of way. Now we have another section up there on, see where's that? The front page again, section number 2, section B, it says no shadow flicker shall fall on public right of way. Nor the land of non-participating right of way. So it that probably will set this. But 1.1 is not very far from the right of way. I don't know that one will. I don't know that you can be that close on shadow flicker, but a lot of other counties are higher than 1.1. That's pretty close. So I don't know if we should think about what that should be, maybe a little greater because of the turbine's 500. I guess our total height is 300.
300.
So that would
yeah.
be 330 feet from the right of way, which is not very far.
Right.
With ice and different things like that, so that could possibly be thrown. So we need to, I just thought maybe we'd look into that number right there, just to maybe
Okay.
get an idea what we think that should be. look around. I think the wording on D, section 5, about the public or the county-owned parks and areas under our management. I think the wording's right to include everything. I don't know. We want to make sure we list them all or it does say all parks or areas.
And we were sure that like the Trace is a privately owned, county doesn't own that, correct?
County owns
The
it.
county
Oh,
owns
the
it.
county owns it.
County owns it.
So, I mean, I just want to make sure our parks all get the same treatment, whether if it's a public park, it is included in this, so. Anyway, that's just, I just wondered if the wording was good enough there. I think it probably is. I'm not read over it a couple times. And then the only other thing I have is I added a G to number 6 of radar sensing lights. And that's, we could send those to Carl. A lot of counties have those already in their ordinances. I brought one with me, just the ADLS lighting. Part of theirs, so.
Yep.
And we already talked about that, so. So,
No, otherwise I thought it looked really good.
yeah, we have the changes we talked about, so just get them incorporated in like he did, get it part of it, it's so easy. Decommissioning and road use, we talked a lot about what we wanted done.
Yep, and it sounds like he's working on it.
He's getting
May
that.
have it next week sometime.
Okay, I didn't know if we need to send him an example. one
Yeah,
time.
no, yeah, I had asked him and he said that, yeah, it's coming along, so
Okay,
it's just taking a little bit longer than this, but
so on those little differences here, the only thing I don't know for sure is what we want to do on the right of way setback. If we can go on. Talk about that next week, hand it to him then, or what do you want to do on this? Give him what we think.
I would give him a heads up now.
Give it to him and just say that's the one thing we're not sure of, we look
yeah,
into.
I would just let him, I mean,
So you can redo
either
it.
email him or tell him that, hey, we're gonna look into that a little bit and change the wording on that one,
Yeah,
maybe.
now the feeder lines, number 3,
Yeah.
number 5. Let's see,
That was right.
yes, I was just wondering about wording, and just be a question for him, haven't asked him yet. All communication and feeder lines, does that cover basically any power line they're bearing? I mean, I don't know if the wording matters, I don't know. The big heavy power lines.
I think the power lines are the feeder lines.
I know, well, maybe I just have a question to make sure that covers any of the high voltage lines.
Yep.
Okay, that's all I had on that.
Okay.
And I wondered about the others, so. So do you wanna,
So
you want me to send it, you wanna send him? You guys
I can email him
Kind of our
the changes
changes.
or things. Yep, I'll email him.
Okay, are we good with that? The whole board good with that, those changes, what we're doing? We all good?
Yep.
Okay, we're just still plodding along, then you'll get that put into an actual amended ordinance, and then we can get it out again, we'll have big hearings, everybody can look at every line of it. We're just trying to get to that stage right now, to where we can get there. Okay, well, that covers that. Let's see my agenda there. Now, the next up, we have, the CO2 pipeline ordinance, which we talked about that a little beginning of the meeting.
Yeah, one question I had, so I did call Ayers and Cooney today. They have not received an engagement letter from us. And I know May 30th, we voted to approve an engagement letter with them for the CO2, to work on the CO2 pipeline, I think with Tim Whipple. Even though I think our minutes say Tom Whipple, but
Yeah.
I think it's Tim.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know if I'm assuming that's something you had to sign.
If it was in here, I signed it. If not, I don't know. I'd have to look.
Okay.
If they don't have
Anyway,
it,
he gave me an email back saying what we would have to
did you
do
sign it?
to.
Well, we need to check if it's not on record.
Because he couldn't talk to me otherwise, yeah, without.
Well, we can
that.
check and see if it hasn't been done, sign it, I guess.
Why are we continuing with this?
And that's.
And that brings me, I'm sorry, that brings me to my next point.
Right.
So with the ruling in Shelby County,
Right.
makes me a little nervous of going
To even spend
forward
any money.
to
Right.
even worry about it
I agree.
right now, because I don't think, I think it's a futile point
Yeah.
as
I don't
much as
think we should spend the money to
Right.
do it.
and so maybe it's not,
Well, then let's just go another week and look into, is there any advantage to doing it? If there's none, then there's no sense in even going forward, even if it is signed.
right, and like I said, I don't think we need to. Because now there's a precedent and we're not gonna change that probably.
Yeah, let's just maybe look at it, and if we decide to go forward, we'll see if that's there or not. And if it needs to be, we can sign it then, okay. Okay. Board communication. What else happened?
I sat through there was a, information. I wrote down here. On the legislature. There's a Zoom ISAC meeting about all the stuff that they did this year in the legislature, what they supported, what they didn't support. It was like an hour-long Zoom. But it was kind of interesting. I also have a public board of health meeting, I think Monday coming up, that we get to meet Samantha Beeson from Montgomery County. And at some point, I believe we have to vote and approve the 2080 agreement. I'm not sure if that's going to be passed by the Board of Health, maybe that night, and then next Thursday, that might be on our agenda to look at and approve. I also have a Zion meeting tomorrow at 10, which is a Zoom as well. So, and then I emailed Jill, we were supposed to have a meeting with the pipeline company and the fires at the fire station with our fire chief in Shenandoah. And the date that we had picked, the 27th, is not going to work for me, but so we're going to try to get another date, alternative date that we can sit down and go through hazards and stuff with the pipeline.
Okay.
So that's all I have.
This public health thing says that the Board of Health signed the agreement. Because it started July 1 and it will have to come to the supervisors.
Okay, so maybe they'll give me something to bring back, or they'll,
Yeah,
I asked Dr. Babe about it,
I think
and then Sam said she was kind of taking the lead on it, so I'm assuming this next meeting we'll get something.
it just says the Montgomery and the boards of health signed it.
Has Montgomery County signed?
It
I
says
think
both
they've signed theirs,
have.
right? Okay, so
Yeah.
we still need to sign the 2080, because I haven't seen one for
Yeah.
us, right? Okay. I'll follow up on that, make sure we can get that. Oh, one more thing. So the Zion building over with the Veterans Building was leaking again in the corner. And I forgot to mention this last Thursday. So I went out there and looked at it, took some pictures. It's leaking in the corner in the patient room on the Zion side on the far southwest corner. So I did finally get a hold of the roofing company that we used before, and they had told me this week that they would come out, but they have not come out yet. So I wanted to know what, if I had the authority to call somebody else to go out and look at that, or how do we need somebody else to make that decision? It is dripping in a different spot than what was.
The vent over there.
Yeah, it's not near the vent. It's kind of running down, and it's kind of behind the flange on that corner. And so we just need somebody to go out there, take a look at it and see if they can patch it.
I don't remember exactly, but when we had the other leak, I think we reached out to somebody or a couple people and told them to come look at it. So this is just a repair. This isn't a whole roof.
Yeah,
It's a small repair.
And
So
I don't know if Troy could go look there in that.
we just
corner
need
and
to do
see.
something.
Yeah, right. And so I was worried I was gonna get another call.
Yeah.
It rained so hard this last week, but they didn't call me. So, but I mean, I've left several messages with that Midwest coatings.
I think we have an agreement with them.
Yeah,
Oh, do we?
I
Okay.
think
We need to look at
I
that
think it was
contract
wasn't it
because-
10-year,
they gave us a warranty.
right?
And I
So
know last year we spent $11,000 with them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think there's a
we need
warranty
to
with
hold
it.
them to the fire. Who holds the agreement? Is it in the auditor's office?
Could be.
We need to find that agreement. Maybe we put a email out for that tomorrow or something, or find the agreement, see what the wording is, then maybe have Carl send them a letter if they're not upholding their end of
Okay.
the deal, but we need to fix it if it's leaking. If it's
Yes.
causing damage, we can't wait on them if they wait too long.
Yeah. And next week on the agenda, we're probably gonna have to discuss the courthouse.
I saw those pictures.
You see the pictures, yeah.
So,
Okay.
Yeah,
will they have some figures for that, or
we have to
get a couple?
know whether to call. There's not everybody that can reach up that high
Yeah.
to get it. And James Fine did suggest this roofing company, so I wonder, do we need to reach out to them and have them come look at it, maybe?
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay,
So is that somebody that wants to make the call?
I can do that.
You want to call?
We
Okay.
gotta come look at that.
And I could give this, agreement to Carl also to have him
Is that
review it.
the wind one?
No,
Oh, okay.
with,
The Samuels
with
group?
Samuel's group,
Okay.
yes.
Yep, okay.
Okay. Did you have any communication, Judy?
I do not, I have a Wabansie meeting next week, so.
Okay. The landfill, we had a meeting last week. I don't know if it was after our morning meeting, but several things going on there, but one thing that is coming up is I think it's in August, the farm lease is up, so it'll be open for bid. The landfill farm lease is up, so they're gonna advertise it. I just want to make sure to say that it's gonna be up, so anybody can put a bid in on that wishes to. And there'll probably be a packet that you can get from Brian out there. So that's something that I want to make sure to say. So there's, I think, roughly 90 acres or so that's farm ground out there. Okay, what's we got going on here? Well, if we're done with that, the next step is the minutes, and got something to say about that, about the minutes here. There's been a lot of discussion. I think the discussion on the minutes should be short. We just heard the today we heard this, the Iowa Public Information Board ruled that our clerk's minutes of the supervisors' meetings do not meet Iowa code. It's a serious business. I'm pleading with our clerk to please follow the code as required. Soon we'll have a definitive information on the IPIB's directive related to our minutes and ultimately an opinion from the Attorney General. I maintain my belief that the supervisors have the ability and authority to amend and approve the minutes of our meetings. Regarding the meeting from last week, July 6th, I have lined out public comments and discussion of those minutes because public comments and discussion are not required by Iowa law, and they were not all of the comments, they were only partial comments, was not objective. I would ask the clerk to ensure that the wording of each motion voting upon is complete and accurate in the minutes. I would also ask the clerk to verify that the result of each vote taken is accurate and sufficient information to indicate the vote of each member present and to be in compliance with Iowa code. So that's what I'd like to have done. We tried to go slow tonight, make sure we can help that happen. But our minutes that have been unapproved did not meet Iowa code. We have with the Iowa Public Information Board, which we've been speaking about for months. So I need a motion. Oh, here, let me hand this out. Sorry, no motion yet. So I went through and did what I said. I'll pass them out again. There was also in last week's minutes, several places our vote was not taken, which by the Iowa Board of Public Information Board was not right. Look at you hand one down. Please, and one back to Joseph maybe. So we'll go over these minutes. I just did exactly what he said. Condensed them and made them, there was a lot of things that was not in the minutes, so we struck the comment, the extra that was not there.
one thing I'm wondering is on board communication,
Mhm.
do you think that should stay in there as far as?
I don't mind this thing, it just gets all over the place, so it's on how to draw the same line through it.
Okay,
And then I don't mind if we pick and choose through that, it's just when we. It goes all over the place, and it doesn't have everything, it gets kind of. So it's very difficult,
yeah.
but we can,
The one thing I
Look at that.
was thinking of going through these this week was just. I wouldn't mind, I mean, I think we've heard from some people in the public that, you know, they appreciated having the public comment, but not maybe have what the whole comment was, but maybe say, you know,
so and so.
Judy talked about the minutes,
Right.
or Jacob talked about roads,
Right,
just as a general statement and not have the whole discussion.
yeah.
As,
And that's-
as maybe something that way it's still informative, you know.
And
people
we're,
can
I'm
talk to their-
fine with that probably.
People can talk to their neighbor, they wanna ask,
Yeah.
hey, what were you talking about the roads about, you know?
The point we're at right now, these minutes are just,
Right, I agree, it's,
is that we're trying to meet code and do it right. Our
Yep.
minutes that are being published, we do not approve of, and they do not meet Iowa code. So
Good.
I'm just trying to make sure they meet code. And when the Attorney General, if they decide that we have the power to actually look at our own minutes, and vote, which I think we do, then at that time, we will, we can discuss it again, what we leave and keep. I was just trying to make them, Iowa code minutes.
right, yep, no,
And so,
I'll
That's
make,
all I'm saying.
I'd make a motion that we approve the amended minutes.
okay, I'll second that. Okay, we've discussed at length all these things, so we're waiting to hear from on high, but let's just vote, I guess. So could you roll call that, please, Kristen?
Yes,
No,
Yes. Okay,
I do appreciate you going back and making my last name spelled right. I appreciate that,
that's the thing, right?
yeah.
Okay, so then we're basically done. We can adjourn. Anything else? We can adjourn this meeting. Make a motion.
Make a motion that we adjourn.
Second that, we're adjourned. Thanks for coming.